Hi there, beautiful divine awakening souls. This is Nyla. Welcome to 3D to 5D consciousness. This channel is about helping you to expand your consciousness, getting you ready to become your 5D galactic being, and as well as the spot for galactic news. If you're new to this channel and broadcast, a big welcome. If you're a returning viewer and subscriber, thank you so much for tuning in and giving me your continued support and attention. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, guys, for all the hard work you've been doing with sharing and promoting my last video. It's managed to get my subscribers up to over 50,000 subscribers now. Thank you so much for all the contribution and support you guys have been doing. It's greatly appreciated. I'm also very thankful and grateful for the people who've reached out to me, connected with me on Messenger, on my email, as well as making some financial donations towards my work and channel. As you can see from my new scenery here, I'm on a remote location. I'm actually taking a little bit of holiday. It's not exactly a holiday because I'm still working, but I'm in an eco camping place right now. I'm going to give you a tour and a view of what it's like. So I'm going to unveil to you my nice lake that I'll be joining and going for a swim. So nice here, nice and quiet. And here's the beautiful lake. Wow, isn't that cool? Isn't that amazing? And then here is all the beach bar and the lounge bed to hang out. And eventually dislocated across. It's gonna be awesome here. Can't wait to go for a dive. Is your helmet really necessary? Hope you guys enjoy the tour. In my last video, I shared you guys a surprise that I'm working on something very special for my audience. I've been working very hard behind the scene. Many of you have expressed a great deal of excitement in finding out what it is. I'm really excited. I wanted to announce it to you, but it's not quite ready yet. We're still fixing and working on one main issue before I can actually launch it to the world. So bear with me. It's been a big struggle for me to work this out with my team. Okay, so I also want to say a big thank you to my translation team, who's been working very hard behind the scene to continue their translation work, to share my messages into different languages, so that way their collective consciousness will also be able to understand what's going on and understand these kind of teachings I'm sharing you guys from a galactic perspective. I also want to do a quick update with the last video I was sharing, which was the advertisement for Wayfair. I found out after I uploaded the video that it was a fake advertising. Someone digitally edited the video quite a bit. They replaced the FedEx logos in all of the boxes, and they put Wayfair logo on the boxes throughout the screenshots of the commercial. And then towards the end of the commercial, they also edit the clip where they have the kid coming out of the box. So obviously when we all first saw the commercial, we thought it was a Wayfair commercial. But then later on, as more people did more research, and I also found out through my own research that it was a fake commercial. Someone did a whole bunch of editing. I don't know why people would spend their time wasting their time doing this kind of like fake stuff, trying to replace a FedEx commercial with Wayfair logos. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I thought I'd make an update on that, so that way you are informed that the Wayfair commercial was not an original commercial. It's heavily edited, but I still believe that Wayfair is involved in human trafficking, and they what they do in terms of selling furniture is just a front. The real business is actually trafficking kids, trafficking humans, and being involved in the production of adrenochrome making. Now, let's dive into the talking points. Last video, I covered Kelly Preston and her very abrupt death. I didn't go into specific details about it, but now I'm going to go into those details to cover it more. As I told you in the last broadcast, many of these Illuminati members, these cabal members, they like to have a front. They like to make it look like they are into philanthropy, into humanitarian acts, and they set up charities and foundations in very poor countries, Haiti and India being their primary targets. Well, if you do a little bit of digging, guess what you find out? Kelly Preston was also involved in doing philanthropy in Haiti. It's the same thing what the Clinton foundations do. Whenever there's a natural disaster, which they also create, they rush over to this poor country, telling the world that they're providing all these first aid, financial relief, but meanwhile, they're also trafficking young children, orphan children who have been displaced by this natural disaster, okay? Now I'm going to show you another picture of Kelly Preston. This is what she looks like 2 years ago, supposedly when she was battling cancer, okay? This is what they want us to believe, that she's been battling cancer for the last 2 years. This is what she looks like. This is a photo of her taken not too long ago when she's off adrenochrome, and so is John Travolta. She looks unrecognizable. That doesn't even look like Kelly Preston. It looks like an old lady. And just to be sure, who exactly is battling cancer? Is it John Travolta or is it Kelly Preston? Because John Travolta is bald, but Kelly Preston has a head full of hair. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're battling cancer, usually don't you lose your hair during chemotherapy and all these pharmaceutical concoction they put you under, so that way you're trying to get rid of the cancer? But here she is with a head full of hair. To me, she looks like she's been off adrenochrome, and she looks to me that they put her to death through the Rommel death because she's probably involved in human trafficking. This is the reason why she has a front for having this philanthropy, this humanitarian aid in Haiti. Let's move on to the next talking point. The POTUS has just announced that he's going to be cutting funding to the CDC. This is a big victory for the alliance and for the people, because the CDC is another corrupt, evil, satanic organization, another tentacle of the Illuminati that is maintaining control over the information regarding health, disease management. Everything they put out is a lie, propaganda. Their whole job is actually to protect the pharmaceuticals and to protect their the people who donate to their organization. Did you know that the CDC has also a charity? They are a public entity supposedly funded by the government, but they also have a charity as well too, the CDC Foundation. Individuals, corporation, and as well as NGO, which is non-government organization, can donate to this charity, so that way they can continue advancing their CDC agenda, the Center for Disease Control. Now, to me, that sounds like another Clinton foundation where you can bribe them, donate money to them. It's like a pay-to-play kind of playbook, where if you are a corrupt pharmaceutical company and you want to make a contribution, a donation, so that way you can further your toxic drugs or your toxic vaccine. You just send a donation and send a bribe to the CDC charity. They accept donation from anybody, individuals, corporation, and NGOs. So that goes to show you how more corrupt can you get. You have funding from the government, and then you got funding from, and you also have a charity that you can accept donation, bribery from anyone. You know, from the Gate Foundation, from pharmaceutical company, from anybody that has an agenda they want to implement. They just give a donation to the CDC, and the CDC takes the money and makes sure they protect the interests of their donors. So you can't get any more corrupt than that. So I'm glad the POTUS is defunding this organization, and I'm exposing for the corruption that this organization is about, because this is a big Illuminati front. They've set up a lot of these organizations, the FDA, the CDC, WHO, every single major organization that's the gatekeeper of information. I'm glad they're being dismantled and being taken apart, because it's time we start fresh, start new, and have these corrupt organizations exposed for what they are. Now, let's move on to the next talking point. I'm going to be talking about Barcelona being on lockdown. 1.6 million people have been ordered to stay in, and the city's on lockdown for supposed COVID-19 disaster. I already know from a lot of research that when they decide to lock down a city like this and it's only regional, they're doing a massive military operation. They're clearing up that city, that area. So Barcelona is being cleared up right now. As well, there's a big sex trafficking ring that has been busted in Ontario, Canada. 32 charges were laid. 7 people have been arrested. So as you can see, I'm covering news, sex trafficking from all different parts of the world to let you know that the darkness that existed on this planet regarding drug trafficking, sex trafficking, human trafficking, weapons trafficking, they're all being removed from the planet. So slowly you're going to hear many more reports of certain cities, certain regions being shut down due to COVID-19. This is just a front for a big military operation. If it happens in your town, celebrate, because it means that the darkness is being cleansed in your town. Okay? Are you ready for more good news? Because I have more good news to share with you. I have a clip here from Mark Meadows saying that John Durham might be ready to be serving some indictments soon, which means mass arrests of these pedophile elites are going to be made public. You know from my previous broadcast, I've been telling you that John Durham and his team has been working very quietly behind the scene in total silence. There's been no leaks into the media what they're investigating in. This is how you're supposed to carry in proper investigations. Now it looks like he's almost finishing and wrapping up these investigations. So that means they're going to be serving indictments very soon. Now, Q has already made many drops, giving us clues, giving us indication that it's going to be a very hot summer, which means it's about the same time that John Durham is going to be rolling out indictments. Q has been very accurate in, making these intelligence drops, leaks, so that way they are preparing the anons, preparing the Qers that we are doing our research. We're making sure that the timeline is going according to plan, according to the Q intel, because they have Project Looking Glass. They know exactly what's going to go down, how it's going to play out. So this is not another Q proof to you that it's happening exactly how Q has been mentioning in the Q drops, that it's going to be a hot summer. And it looks like to be so, because I'm going to share you the clip from Fox News right now that indictments might be around the corner.
Mark, let me turn to the Russia probe. You did such an excellent job when you were on the oversight committee in terms of zeroing in on the origins of the Russia probe. We now know for sure. Lindsey Graham told us this about a month ago, actually, so our audience was aware that the FBI knew that the dossier was just made up garbage, and the subsource told the FBI agents that, and yet Jim Comey and Andrew McCabe kept on pushing forward, renewing warrants to spy on Carter Page. Your reaction to what we know now, and when are we going to hear from John Durham? Will there be indictments, sir?
Well, I think the American people expect indictments. I know I expect indictments based on the evidence I've seen. Lindsey Graham did a good job in getting that out. We know that they not only knew that there wasn't a case, but they continued to investigate and spy. And yes, I use the word spy on Trump campaign officials, and actually even doing things when this president was sworn in and after that, and doing it in an inappropriate manner. You're going to see a couple of other documents come out in the coming days that will suggest that not only was the campaign spied on, but the FBI did not act appropriately as they were investigating. It's all starting to come unravel, and I tell you, it's time that people go to jail and people are indicted.
It's just unbelievable that for 3 years, this president was investigated and investigated again over something that wasn't even true. And the entire country was up in arms about collusion. I mean, I don't hear anything on the other side of the aisle about this wrongdoing. which is just stunning to me.
Well, it is stunning. And here's the interesting thing is not only that it wasn't true, the problem is they knew it wasn't true. And when you know something is not true and you continue the investigation, that's collusion. That's the kind of thing that we must stop. And that's where we need to hold people accountable.
Mark, it's great to have you this morning. Please come back soon. Thanks so much.
There's no more escaping for these elite pedophiles. Finally, they're going to be exposed for all of their crimes they've committed against the people, against children, against the POTUS. Everything is going to be brought into the light. No more hiding for these pedophiles. Big victory for us. I hope you guys are celebrating this. Spread this news, spread this information. These are the mass arrests that the people have been waiting for. The official unsealing of indictment, formal official announcement. Even though I already know most of these pedophiles have already been detained because they're all walking around with ankle bracelet, most of the sleep people still actually believe that these people are free and they're actually walking around. But now with the official announcement, indictments going to be unsealed, it's going to be public knowledge that they're going to be charged with serious crimes. Now, move on to the next talking point. There are major protests happening in Israel right now. The people in Israel are fed up with Netanyahu, with his crimes, his corruption. What else is he involved in? Bribery. They're sick and tired of all of these crimes he's been committing, and they have gathered around his property, his real property, and protesting and demonstrating. I mean, this is really good news because the people in Israel are waking up. They're fed up and they're uniting. United, we are very strong and very powerful. This is the reason why they want to prevent everyone from uniting. They divide people by religion, by race, by political affiliation. If you are awakened, if you consider yourself awakened, please drop all of these affiliation and all these things you identify yourself with, because that means you still don't see yourself as being an immortal soul. A truly awakened person is a person that remembers who they really are, and who you really are. You're a more immortal soul. You're infinite consciousness having a human experience. Therefore, you don't need all of these religious affiliation, this political affiliation. They're masks. They're masks that the ego put on, so that way you can identify yourself with certain race, with certain religion, with certain political affiliation. You don't need all that stuff. It's time for you to get rid of the mask and start shining your light, shining the true essence of what you really are. And what you really are is you are living, breathing, conscious, infinite soul having an human experience. And the sooner you can awaken to this, you can take back your power, you can become sovereign and not buy into their BS. You know, refuse to be labeled and not be identified by all these fake names and these fake affiliation. They're all fake. They're all fake anyways. They don't really exist. What really exists is that you are an infinite soul. You're just here temporary, having a human experience. And the sooner you can wake up to this, to your true essence of who you really are, then you can really start to now start learning your true power, your true ability to co-create realities based on what you wish and what you desire, instead of being programmed and being indoctrinated by the matrix. Okay, so now let's dive into the next talking point. There are major protests happening in Israel right now. The people of Israel are very fed up with Netanyahu. They're demonstrating and protesting in front of his residential address. They want him to be removed because of his all the crimes he's been committing, bribery, corruption, and fraud, just to name a few. So they're really fed up with all this corruption and that he's still in office. So there's massive protests happening in Israel. Q has been mentioning in several posts that Israel is going to be safe for last, as well as Majestic 12 disclosure documents that I've been reading. Both military intelligence agency are confirming that the exposure of Israel, the crimes against humanity, everything about Israel is going to be safe for last. But I'm going to prepare my audience for some interesting information before they let the cat out of the bag regarding Israel. Okay, so here's some interesting information you may want to know about Israel. The State of Israel was created in 1917 with the announcement of the Balfour Declaration. This is when England gave a portion of Palestine to the Rothschild. Israel is largely controlled and owned by the Rothschild family. Okay, so I'm going to show you a picture of Jacob Rothschild right now. And here is a photo of Jacob Rothschild. As you can see from his cone-shaped head, he is not a human being. He is an Anunnaki. Here are some other photos to show you that his skull matches exactly to the skull of other Anunnaki that were discovered on their planet. So you have here living proof that we have negative, dark ETs living among us, controlling our planet, and implementing their agenda, trying to roll out the NWO. Zionism is actually a part of the NAA, which is the Negative Alien Alliance. You want to dive into this book called The Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. It is basically a manuscript for the Illuminati. This is what they are actually implementing to ensure that they will succeed in achieving an NWO, a New World Order. This was written back in 1860. If you would like a copy of it, I will put the link in the description below so you can download a copy to further your research into Zionism and the NWO, the Illuminati. This is exactly their manuscript that they have been implementing for all these decades. So I want to share you the information, and the other important information I want to share with you is that I also came across these two important tidbits regarding Zionism in the Majestic 12 disclosure documents. If you're not familiar with Majestic 12 is another secret military agency, intelligence agency that existed before Q Intel. So Majestic 12 was actually the first kind of like galactic military intelligence agency, and then Q came after Majestic 12. So this is the information I came across when I was reading Majestic 12 disclosure documents. I'm going to read to you an excerpt from it. Would you believe us if we told you Zionist State of Israel is controlled by an ET entity reclaiming dominance over Earth in Jerusalem, completely unaffiliated with the Jews? The other excerpt is, if the State of Israel is controlled by an entity, does this mean this entity creates Zionism? Majestic 12 says, yes. So I'm giving you a little bit pieces of the puzzle right here so you can start formulating your own picture, because Q and Majestic 12 said they're going to be saving Israel for last, but I'm giving you this little information so that way you know what's going to be what's coming down the pipeline. The mainstream media has been largely controlled by the Zionists. There's 6 major corporations that controls all of the world's media, and they're all controlled by Zionists. Now, that's why it's very difficult that when you criticize Zionists and you say anything critical regarding Zionism, you're already branded as being anti-Semitic, whatever. You're already labeled all of these absurd labels because you are actually speaking out against Zionism and you're actually having some critical thoughts regarding Zionism. When the Alliance decides to shut down the satanic Illuminati mainstream media and they no longer have control over controlling people's mind and controlling the collective consciousness, and they're going to be broadcasting the truth, the people are going to be red-pilled regarding the crimes against humanity that the state of Israel has been committing against Palestine for all these decades. The world has been largely silent. They've turned a blind eye. They've turned the other way regarding the crimes and the atrocity that has been happening in Palestine. But once this internet gets shut down and the emergency broadcast system is activated and all of these crimes, all of this darkness, the truth is broadcasted, be prepared for what's going to be coming, because they're saving the best for last. And I'm already giving you some tidbits regarding Zionism and the state of Israel. So I'm preparing you for what they're going to be showing you. So that way you are being prepared emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and physically for this truth that's going to be coming out, because we have been largely censored about what's been happening in Palestine. There's very, very little coverage about the crimes and the injustice that's been happening in Palestine. But it's going to be all exposed. This can't continue anymore. The people that have been oppressing the Palestinians need to be held accountable for their crimes against humanity. This cannot continue. The oppression, the injustice, the murder, the theft of the land.
We are here attending the Mass ICNA convention in Chicago, and we are participating here. We have a booth here, and our mission is to explain to so many people, the Muslim people here, and to the world at large, that not all Jews support the state of Israel. There's a great difference between Judaism and Zionism. Judaism is a religion. The Jewish people practicing this religion only, versus Zionism, the state of Israel, which is a purely political movement. We are handing out this new pamphlet, which is talking about the recent President Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of the state of Israel. And we say that according to Jewish religion, this is unacceptable. It's not just the question of Jerusalem, it's the question of entire Palestine. This entire occupation is unacceptable according to Judaism. And we have masses of Jewish people worldwide who totally oppose all what the state of Israel stands for. All the state of Israel stands for is in total contradiction, in total violation of Jewish teachings, killing and stealing, occupying another's land, oppressing an entire people. All of this is totally forbidden according to Judaism. This is a true violation of Jewish teachings. And in addition, this concept of building a sovereign homeland for Jews happens to be in total contrast to Jewish belief. According to Judaism, we are in exile. Jewish people are forbidden to end exile by any physical means. All Jewish leaders from the very beginning of Zionism totally opposed this concept. This was invented not by religious scholars. The philosophy of Zionism, of building a sovereign homeland for Jews, was invented by Theodor Herzl and his friends, people who didn't follow anything within the Jewish religion.
Now let's move into the last talking point. This is a very important talking point. I see too many people sharing Michael Love's message, believing that he's actually working for the light and he is actually channeling real galactic beings. And I'm here to expose this deception and fraud and call him out for what he is, because he's a fraud and he is not working for the light, and he's actually a very dishonest person, because I'm going to also expose another scam business that he's operating. Okay, so here's some information on Michael Love and his business. Okay, he's promoting Andara crystals. He is the owner of this Andara crystal website. Andara crystals are 5D crystals that exist only in the 5D frequency, in the 5D realm. The GFL, the Galactic Federation of Light, has these crystals. Only the galactic beings have these crystals. Okay, now they don't exist on a 3D and a 4D Earth. They haven't existed for a very long time. But here he is promoting on his website that he actually has Andara crystals. And they are not Andara crystals at all. They are glass. Okay, if you go on Google and you punch in these terminology, slag, glass, rock chunk, you're gonna pull up these so-called Andara crystals that look exactly like Michael Love's crystals on his website. You can also punch in this key term, call it glass, and you can pull up the same exact piece that he has on his website. These glass pieces are worth only a few dollars if you buy them online on eBay. They're very inexpensive to buy. But here he is scamming people and selling them and marketing them as Andara crystal, as he's selling them as much as 500 to 1,000 or more per piece. Can you believe this? That these glass pieces that you buy on eBay or buy at the Home Depot shop or wherever you want to buy them, because they're actually used for gardening, for decoration, are worth only a few dollars, and he's selling them for like $500, $1,000, $2,000 per piece. This is a very big scam artist here you're dealing with. Okay. Try to digest that information I just covered for you, okay? Here he is scamming people with this type of dishonesty. If a person that is out of integrity, dishonest, like Michael Love is, that what he's doing right now, there's no chance in hell that someone like this would be channeling for the GFL, for any galactic being, okay? Galactic beings are very high frequency. In order to channel for these beings, you actually have to be at a very high frequency yourself. You actually have to have lifetime after lifetime of working on your spiritual development, so that way you are of an utmost integral person. You're operating at the highest level of integrity in order to channel these galactic beings. To give you the background information on channeling, it's actually source that gives the directive to an ascended master, okay? The ascended master would then select who the channel will be. That person would need to work on their personal development as well as their spiritual development lifetime after lifetime in preparation for this role. This is not just a role that anybody can do and just say, hey, I'm going to decide to be a channeler for the GFL or for these galactic beings. It doesn't work like that. You actually have to be chosen to do this role. This is a very, very important role. You have to be operating at a very high frequency, so that way you're coming up in vibration and these galactic beings are dropping their frequency, so that way you can connect to each other and then the communication can start. And each time you are actually in contact with these galactic beings in a real channeling message, they are very loving. It is expressed in their messages, and they're very open in expressing their love for you. So it's when you're reading a real galactic channeling message, it's like you're reading the message verbatim. It's like a dialogue that the channeler is having with these galactic beings. You know, they're very warm, they're very loving, they're unconditional, they're very expressive, you know, and you feel that energy when you're reading their messages. You feel the love, you feel the vibration of what they're telling to you. That's the first thing I'm going to share with you. The second thing I'm going to share with you is that their teachings are profound. It really gets you to think on a totally different realm, a totally different world, and it raises your frequency quite high when you're actually reading a real galactic channeling. And the third thing I want to share with you is that if they do provide intel, they're also quite detailed, the intel as well too. They're not generic intel, they're very detailed. However, they're very selective when it comes to disclosing intel, because obviously they're not allowed to say anything and disclose everything. They only share information based on what you need to know, okay, and based on the questions you ask. If you don't ask the question, they don't disclose. Okay, so these galactic beings, these ascended master, they don't want to interfere with your spiritual evolution, your spiritual growth. So sometimes even when you ask them these questions, they are not allowed to answer certain questions, because you need to learn it on your own. You need to come to these realizations on your own. Okay, so given the information, given the little clues I'm giving to you regarding a real, genuine galactic channeling, when you read or listen to a Michael Love galactic channeling, first of all, there is a lack of love. There's no love frequency at all in his channeling. You don't feel the love. You don't feel the energy. And this is already giving you an indication this is not, he's not channeling anybody. He's conjuring things up in his own mind. Second thing I noticed when I listen to his messages is that it feels like I'm listening to a lecture. Okay, it feels I'm listening to a lecture because he's gathering information from the websites and everything, and he's just putting it together in a message. So he's doing research and he's gathering information. He's putting it in. It's not really a channeled message. There's no galactic teachings. You know, there's nothing profound in his messages. They're all